That's James's dinner. Grapes and almond milk and a chocolate. And I'm having pretty much the same, which I really shouldn't, you know. Like I have...
Almond milk?
No, I'm not having almond milk. I'm not having anything to drink right now. But I could have.
Yeah.
Go get my water, but I don't think I need it right now. Anyway, so, but no, I'm having some cheese, not very much, but a little bit of cheese on my salad.
Okay.
I shouldn't have it.
Okay, are you going to complain from your body?
Huh? Well, just as much as cheese is yummy, not very good for me. So I haven't been getting headaches from, I tried both feta and mozzarella and I didn't get headaches from them. So, but they're still not good for me. But anyway, so I gotta give them up. I know it. So boy, I'm tired. I wrote a poem this morning. I wrote a couple poems this morning. This one.
Well, she read a poem too, so.
Yeah, I did.
I can see why she did the mistake.
But
it's not really a mistake.
I wrote this poem. I started writing it last night, and I was too tired. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna put it down. So this is actually, it's finished today, started yesterday. So when it starts out, I watched a man cheat death today, and that's yesterday because I finished it today. That's how it happened. So this poem's called Life on Standby. I watched a man cheat death today. The fentanyl had stopped his heart. It was restarted anyway. The guy was just some homeless fart, yet someone gave him CPR, a stranger with an EPD. We saw so little from our car, there wasn't really much to see. He didn't move for minutes, and I heard the woman yell out, "Clear!" Then nothing. Then he moved a hand. It's good that EPD was near. The chest compressions didn't take. How many minutes? Maybe 10. Whole minutes with his life at stake. It's wild he got to live again. I'd said, for sure that fellow's dead. It's been too long, he can't come back, and yet he chose to live instead. How long? I wasn't keeping track. I'm sure at least 5 minutes though. Once he was up, the ambulance showed up.
Pauline was there. Sorry
before we watched it go. I watched a man cheat death by chance. Some people had been yelling, "Live!" I wonder if he heard them yell while I stood by and didn't give him anything. I knew he fell. If just for me, he would have died. I might have called for 911. Why help prevent his suicide? Today, tomorrow, he'll be done. In life, we choose just how we'll die. My heart is burdened every day with fat, and yet I just stand by. We choose our death. Well, anyway. So, I don't know. I don't know why I didn't do anything. But, like,
there's nothing we could have done. There were plenty of people around doing the right thing.
Yes, but, like, James saw it. I didn't. I was in the library, and I saw there was a woman from his group. Like they hang out underneath the trees along the boulevard there outside the library, and there was a woman from his group that ran over, and there was one woman coming out, and along with me, right? And she was a little ahead of me, and so the woman addressed her first, but really she was just addressing anyone. I could have went too, right? So she said to the woman, "Call an ambulance," and so she was going to do that, and I just walked on to the car. You know, I didn't know what had happened, but it's not tough to guess what happened at the library. So, or thereabouts, right?
It wasn't tough for you to guess there and then.
No.
What you're saying.
Yeah. So I went out, and James wasn't sitting there and waiting for me anymore. Like, I just went to check the weather, and I don't know. I wasn't gone for very long. Maybe 5 minutes, right? And so James look at the cute little dog that looks like Paris. You can see her out there. She's so sweet. But we have to be quiet. If we draw her attention, then she'll start barking. She's really loud. So anyway, So yeah, James was outside the vehicle and he was watching from a distance. You know, there were lots of people around.
Well,
And
we were in the library parking lot.
Yeah.
It wasn't even on the boulevard opposite the library. So
No, and so like once I saw him, I saw what was going on over there too. I thought he was over there, but I saw him first. He wasn't over there. And then yeah, so I didn't help. I just stood there and watched the chest compressions and then
people
the
yelling,
hook up.
live,
Yeah,
live,
yeah, and then
live.
And then the woman hooked up the electropulmonary device and said clear, and then there was nothing for a minute, and I thought, he's dead, he's gone, right? But then I saw his hand move, and I was like, no, he's made it.
Pauline was on that side of the
don't know
vehicle.
how, but like James was watching, so he was dead a long time before I started watching, and
She was
he was
inside
dead
the
a long
library for
time.
5 minutes. I hope he hasn't lost too much brain function. But
Yeah, but anyway, I was surprised that the ambulance stopped, and they looked, and then they went away. I don't know. Maybe they came back.
The guy up. I don't know.
I don't know if they did.
There was some level of incompetence involved because they're just a few blocks away, the place where ambulance is. Now they might have had to answer another call, but I hadn't heard an ambulance going for quite a while. I don't know, but it was.
Well, I didn't hear them at all.
Oh,
Like I saw them drive up, but they didn't have the sirens on.
that's amazing.
Right? Like I don't know what was going on there.
You're right. It should have been. Well, you know, like who was calling? You know, like the big trouble is when you're a homeless person. People are going like they wouldn't have known who actually called, and they're going, it's just someone who's got it wrong, right?
Well, they might not have known why. Because the woman, when I was at the door, she just said, call an ambulance. She didn't say, guy's had a heart attack. Or anything, right?
You mean the woman who'd come in for water or something?
No, she
She's
ran
in
in to
black?
say,
Okay.
the woman ran in to say, call an ambulance while I was leaving.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
so-
this was a woman in black, right?
I don't remember.
Okay, I just trying to.
Not the woman who was caring for him.
Okay. Someone else. I don't know. Anyway, the woman who'd been caring for him, it might be a different woman that you're talking about. She was the one who was applying the pressure. And she was working on him a long time and very vigorously. Obviously, she knew what she was doing. I got the impression she was one of the group. If she wasn't, I apologize to you. Okay.
Maybe. Oh, you mean before the woman came out?
Well, not the woman who came
who-
out was not part of the group.
First aid.
Oh,
No, she
okay.
wasn't.
No. We knew first aid. I thought she was the one doing it, but it's lucky she was there. But no, there was a woman in black who was working on him for seemed like almost as long as you were inside the library. And maybe not quite as long. 3 minutes? Anyway, finally she gave up. And like she'd been applying artificial respiration too, 5 times. And that might have helped the guy. They should have been doing that all the way through, but you know, like who's going to do that if they don't have some sort of thing to, like I couldn't do it. If you did it, you'd be risking getting COVID and then giving it to me.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so...
And you're
the
taking
security
that risk with
guards
anyone. The
didn't do it
security
either.
guards weren't doing anything. They were just
But-
sitting around. They were about as useful as I was. You know, it wasn't on library property or even on city property opposite the library.
I think city.
Okay, city property opposite the library.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The boulevards are city property. So the library had so little care about that boulevard opposite it, like north of there. When I took care of the library grounds there, I said, so how am I going to get hoses out there to water that? And they said, don't even bother. So they didn't. I suspect they don't water it even now. Anyway, so it was a woman in dark, and she was kind of running. She wasn't.
Okay, and that would have been her then. You're right.
Came in, I think so.
Probably.
She got some water
You
there.
saw her
I
running.
presume from the people who give out water. It was a bottle of water.
I don't know.
It looked new. See what I'm saying? But I'm amazed someone who was watching I think the security guards were sitting there watching. You'd think they'd have some sort of means, like cell phones. Aren't they always peddling around with cell phones?
Yeah.
But anyway, she goes in. She has to make the call. I don't know what happened. But that ambulance, if it hadn't been for the woman with the machinery, the ambulance, I think, would have been vastly too late. And anyone of you folks that think naloxone is a cure-all, they
I forgot
stabbed
to put
him.
that in the poem.
They stabbed him, I believe, in the leg, and it didn't seem to have any
Isn't it
effect
supposed to
at
go
all.
in the heart? I don't know. See, I don't know anything about
I
it.
don't know anything about it either. I was surprised they went there, but I'm not as sure as the leg.
That's probably where it's supposed to go. I have no idea.
I have no idea. Anyway, the woman who went to get some water, I don't know why she did. She should have stayed with the, I was going to say corpse.
Well, he was for
a
a long time.
I can't, were there other people? There might have been one other person working, the guy. She was in. But one of the important things about it is maintaining the breath, so the brain can still have oxygen while a person's basically dead while their heart isn't working. Anyway, it was a sobering
does
kind of
it?
experiment. Huh?
Does it really give the brain oxygen? If their heart's not working, it can't get to the brain.
I have no idea
So,
how it works.
I don't know.
I have no idea how it works. But it shouldn't, because the lungs aren't directly connected with the brain. They're connected by means of the heart. But maybe if you're doing the compressions and stuff like that, that might enable stuff to move around a bit. I don't know. Anyway, it's sobering, and unlike many people who are against the supervised overconsumption side, I'm actually for them. But the problem is what they're for. There can be no mission creep, not for giving people amphetamines like they eventually were doing here in town, not for giving away needles and all that sort of stuff. I really think folks like that should be on they're basically confined in
Like a group home.
places. Exactly right.
It should be a supervised consumption group home.
Yeah, so you don't go out because you're a
No.
danger to yourself, and you are provided, and this is a way of distinguishing from regular population and those folks. If you commit yourself to a place like that, then you get your drugs provided free.
Yeah,
You
I
get
think so too.
you get your accommodations 24/7, 52. In other words, but you don't go out hanging around the streets. That I would even apply that to methamphetamine users or cocaine users. Yeah, you get it provided free, but you don't go around messing around with folks who are straight. It's just that simple.
Yeah. Man, I was
So-
surprised to see just his hand move.
Well, I was
Just moved
shocked.
a little. I saw it, and I was like, did I really see it,
Yeah.
right? And then when I saw his leg move, I was like, oh,
I saw
wow.
him like prop up his legs.
But
His legs were just.
Then
flat
when I
out
saw
for a
he
while.
was getting up and he stood
Yeah,
up,
he
I was
stood
like,
up. I thought, what?
how?
Hey?
He was dead.
He kind of almost had a smile on his face. Wow. And the big trouble is, it looked as though he hadn't really learned his lesson.
Mm.
You know, like, if I'd gone through something like that, I'd be going cold turkey the next freaking day. And pardon my partial French. Because, wow. And that would be cold turkey. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. Yeah. But the guy's probably still using. Away we go. So there it is. And those places would be located, you know, there wouldn't be I've got to be close to this, that, and the other person. No, it'd be wherever it is that they're going to cause the least problem if they get out and about. If they get out and about, you know, they get a few chances, and then I guess they're in jail or something like that. Because I don't want to see people die, but I don't want to see the kind of well, frankly, devastation that happens in the community from folks like that going out and about. You know, and like I say, they should get their drugs provided free, but particularly with methamphetamine users and cocaine users, they should not be allowed to mix with the general populace. Can you imagine what it'd be like? You know, okay, here they're providing free dope, letting them run around, and they kill someone. And then people who are against drug use and all that sort of stuff, and think that drug users as well as drug dealers should be put away. Drug dealers, many of them think they should be killed. You know, like they just make great. They'd have great fun with that. You know, they'd run with that. They say they'd be sprinting with that.
Well,
you know?
I don't think they should get things like cocaine for free. I think it should be some sort of you know, like how you have hydromorphone or something. I think it should be some sort of alternative, because you have to think about, well, where would the government be buying those things? And you don't want the government buying them from.
You'd actually
right?
have the government manufacture.
Yeah, but they can't manufacture cocaine, so they'd have to do some sort of.
Well, you grow it and stuff like that. You'd have your own grow operations and so on and so forth. No, you wouldn't want to fund scumbags. That's for certain, mafia types. No, you try to cut them out of the equation as much as possible. It'd be easier in the United States, but you'd have, I suppose, greenhouses to grow this stuff. I suspect you can actually make synthetic.
That's what I would like to do.
But so the way it's now, the way they had it set up was absolutely ridiculous. With, you know, how long has it been since you've seen a needle?
It's been a long time.
It's been a
yeah,
long
they've been cleaning it up really well.
time. Well, it's not.
Or whatever.
It's just not providing the stuff. It's just getting left here. They're in yon. In the alley here, one time, there was some full. Maybe it was just water, but folks, you know it wasn't water. If a kid had got playing around with that, another kid, and just stabbed the kid with that a little bit, a younger kid, there could have been a huge disaster. And you know, they were saying, oh, it's not in playgrounds. Someone discovered stuff in a playground, maybe multiple playgrounds. It's just the way it is. You know, people making, oh, it's in playgrounds. They were in playgrounds, and people who are denying it were just doing a typical phony left-wing thing. You know, like, oh, because I don't want to hear about it, it didn't occur. It's that way with communists, you know, like, especially if they've been people of color. Oh, they're wonderful. You know, you look at the end of something like their director's cut for Woodstock, which I've got, a VCR.
No, it was actually, it was
VHS?
really disgusting. It was the way they had that set up. There were so many people, like, it seemed like vast overemployment in the.
Oh, and the supervised overconsumption side. Oh, it's stunning.
And
yeah.
so it was just so many people profiting off of people who are addicted to drugs.
And
It's
the taxpayer.
ridiculous. Yeah. And so it's really, they were just parasites off the taxpayer and the drug addicts.
Yeah. They're using the
And
drug addicts.
it's bad
as,
enough when
excuse.
drug dealers are parasites off of drug addicts. But, I mean, honestly, I think the people who were working at that place were worse.
Well,
than
it's
drug
because they're
dealers.
hypocrites
Because-
as well as everything else.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
because they were they're not only parasitizing off of drug addicts, but the taxpayer as well.
Yeah. So the
So it was
head of it, who was
disgusting.
so adamant about the issue about the supervised overconsumption. Oh, that's just an internet phenomenon. No, it isn't. And it particularly when it was found out that she kept on jacking up, and her buddies, because she was hiring. That's the way phony left-wingers tend to be. And check out India. Presumed social democracy, but it's just rife with corruption. And it finally had gotten to the point where here's something I recall as the exact figure, but it could be off by a little bit. It's under $250,000 a year, but it was something like $243,000 a year. Say, what?
That she was making as an income.
100,000 would be
I know, it was ridiculous.
more than enough.
So,
What?
yeah, what a
Yeah.
disgusting person.
Yeah, slimy. Because, like all that money that's going to her could have gone, well, not all of it, but more than more, to come up with
Rehabilitate people.
better
Yeah, exactly,
ways
whatever.
of delivering the sort of stuff. She didn't care a flying, I'm going to say flock, but you know what I mean, folks.
Yeah, just a parasite.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely shameful.
Yeah.
And the way she made that, like now, someone hearing me who doesn't care that much about drug users and stuff like that will say, oh, you're one of them because of her chimpiness and stuff like that. When you're a left-winger, you actually have to deliver stuff that works. It's not just enough to come up with, hey, I've got this idea, I've imagined and reimagined, reimagined, and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and this is the way it's going to be. And if you're not on board, you're with them. And there are so many things that are part of the belief system for phony left-wingers that are taken on that basis. That it's, like the NDP, I've pulled the plug on them because they're just full of that sort of stuff. The Judeophobia that's so prevalent amongst the left-wing United Nations, UNO, it actually should stand for United Nazi Commune Organization. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah. But, I mean, James was upset that the securities guards hadn't done anything.
Well, I
But
don't know. It wasn't
I
on library
don't-
property or opposite. So.
Exactly. It was not their job. And so you can't expect them to. They
Yeah.
have a job to do. And that wasn't it.
Yeah, I'd forgotten that it wasn't on city property.
Yeah. Or
But
library.
well,
So, anyway. So I didn't fault them for not.
and they get paid, I'm sure, a pittance.
They
Stuff like
probably
that.
do.
And I don't believe in that. I've known security guards for a long time. Got along with
But
pretty well everyone. But
Anytime you
they
have
scare me because all it would take is one stupid, and there are stupid security guards, to start wrangling and tangling with me,
Yeah.
making some sort of mistaken identity sort of thing, put me in a wheelchair for life.
But we heard somebody on the radio a while ago, and she was with some library in, I don't know, Kitchener or something. I don't know where, somewhere in Ontario.
Oh, what's
And
that?
she was really using all of the management sort of terminology of, so I don't know. Anyway, she was talking about how they have to respond to their community kind
You
of
have
thing.
to serve
and
the community.
Serve the community. And so, and that just happens to be drug addicts and whatever. So they have to deal with it, right? But she didn't say that happens to be drug addicts. But you
Or
have to think of
drug
all
addict.
of the public departments that, well, is it their job to, they have to deal with the community in a certain way, they're public enterprise, but do they have to focus most of their attention on one demographic? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And if they are, then is it just public enterprise then serving drug dealers? Really? Or is public enterprise just working for drug dealers?
And there is a further issue is, you know, it's not just like you have your interests, but you're a good person. I have my interests, and I'm a good person. Like, you could go in and use the computers there. I can go in and hit the stacks, or I could hit the computers, you hit the stacks too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get the movies out. Those interests don't really conflict unless, you know, you're saying, well, I don't want any money to go in for books, or I don't want any money to go in for movies, or I say I don't want any money to go in for computers and stuff like that. There becomes a situation where there might be a little bit of a kerfuffle there. But the big trouble is a substantial percentage of the homeless folks there, their interests are not in the interests in the least of the users of the library. You can't have folks like that hanging around in the washrooms when you've got kids going into the washrooms. You can't have people hanging around who've got diseases and stuff like that because they've got a bad lifestyle, bad nutrition, so on and so forth. You can't have them hang around where there are people like me who've got a severely suppressed immune system because of the meds they take and because of the cancer that they've got. You can't have that. Their interests are diametrically opposed to the average user's interests. In that case, stuff has to be taken care of. You know, they've kind of, I think, cleaned it up. We used to see drug deals carried out openly in the library.
Yeah, they've boosted security, so there's way more security in there. And
why should
there's
that
still
be?
times
Because we're
where they
paying for
close
that.
down the bathrooms for a time because somebody was using drugs in there or whatever, right? But it's way better than it used to be. But the public's having to pay for that. They're having to pay for that additional security. Anyway, yeah, you see my lovely garden behind me? Well, I'm going to have to bring it inside tonight because there's going to be frost. It says in the weather, whatever, Canadian weather, it says that it's going to be +1 chance of frost, and it's like +1 chance of frost. That's almost sure. So, you know, it's sad because it's almost June, and here we are. I'm still carting these things back and forth. Oh my gosh! But it's a beautiful May, as you can see. Lots of lilacs still blooming.
Yeah,
and tulips still blooming.
Oh, yeah.
And my alliums have just started blooming now.
I noticed one the
Yes.
other day. Nice. Nice color.
Yep. So, and I noticed that your mountain bluet has started blooming. Yeah. So lots